Today we're going to be looking at Corel Draw shortcuts on the keyboard and workflow. The piece of graphic that I have up here is one of my stock designs for a custom cutting board, and as you can see it says Home Sweet Home. This customer wants their client's name along with their client's new address. It's for a realtor. So I'm going to show you some shortcuts. Actually, I'm going to have to tell you what shortcut keys I'm clicking on so you know how I go about moving some things around on screen. Alright, so here we go. First thing you want to do is hit the letter Z, and that brings up your zoom icon, and then left click on your zoom icon. Here you go. Now if it's too much, you hit push down on the shift, and you'll see that turns into a negative sign, and that'll take you there. Now if you need to move it, just hold down on the letter H as in Harry, and you can move it where you want it. Alright, so now I've already made a pick tool shortcut for the letter Q. You can find one of my other videos that shows how to make that. And I just touched on the letter Q in that. And so here's the letter H. There's a hand. Here's the letter Q. In my case, I set that Q to the pick tool. Now, if I want to select all the nodes on this text, I first click on the text so it has your bounding box, and then hit the F10 key. So once you've hit your F10, that gives you access to all the nodes. So now you can highlight. I just took my left mouse and highlighted the word family minus the F. So you can see these are hollow or white, and these are black, and they're highlighted. So now I just use the left arrow key, and I can move all that in. You can also see between this R and this F, it's a little bit more distance here than it is here. So I could either open this up or close this. And to me, it looks like I'll just close this up just a little. So again, I'll highlight the whole word, the entire word family. Left mouse, that's pretty close. I'm going to come over here to the, and I'm going to do the same thing. Left mouse, I'm going to bring, left arrow, and I'm going to bring it there. There. Now, I like that. So I'm going to hit I'm going to hit Q, and that gives me the entire selection. And now you can see my center line where I put a guide in right here. I have this center guide, and that's at 6 inches. And now I use my right arrow and move that over. Now one thing to note is if you want to fine-tune, well, you know what, we'll do that here in a second because it'll make more sense to you then. Alright, so letter Z and shift, hold down on the shift, left click, and take me down here. Alright, now again, it's still highlighted on the zoom, so I can come here. H, again, moves it over. Okay, alright, now Q, in my case, my quick selection, which is this guy right up here, pick tool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all three of these elements. Actually, just two elements. If you look down here right on the bottom, it says to object selected, which tells me that something is grouped, and I happen to know that these arrows are grouped. So if you look here, it's a group of 2. So I'm going to keep those grouped, and I'm going to come with my left mouse down, select both pieces, both the art and the text, and I'm going to just touch on the letter E and the letter C, You see what happened? Now I want to give you a little. I want to give you a heads up. I'm gonna group. So that's Control G, and I'm going to duplicate that. Control D as in David, because I'm going to show you some things. All right. So there's your copy. So I'm going to right click, ungroup. I've got this arrow selected. I'm going to ungroup the arrow. Now I can just hold on one, right arrow, left arrow. Okay, come back over here with one highlighted. Hold down the Shift key and click on your other element. The letter E just to make sure they're lined up. Control G, group. And now if you look, this is Z, I'm sorry, I just zoomed in. If you look, that's those arrows, even though it's centered both horizontally and vertically, optically it doesn't look good. It looks too high. So we're just going to take the down arrow on your keyboard and make it look more optically pleasing. Now, here again, H, I'm going to move the whole thing over. All right, now, I personally think that there's not enough space between the number 5 and the letter M. So I'm going to highlight those, hit F10. I just figured out when I hit F10, that's shutting down my screen capture program. That's what the problem was. So for the purpose of this demonstration, this is about the third time I'm doing this. Instead of F10, I'm just going to come over here and get this tool right here. All right. So now, with all the nodes there, let me zoom in. So Z, and now you can see these 3 nodes. All right. H brings it over. Coming back to my shape tool, which is actually F10 without a screen capture program running. And I think, in my opinion, the 1 is too far out, or the 5 is too close to the 7. So optically, that's a machine kern, and I want to make it more optically pleasing. So right arrow, and I bring it in. Now, same thing goes. I can left click on the mouse, select all the numbers here in this case, left arrow, and I can bring that out. See that? So now the other way to zoom out other than your zoom tool is just, if you have a scrolling mouse, you can just scroll like that. Letter H, get that hand, see what it's looking like. That's looking pretty good. But I see back to the Z for zoom. But I see some things here that may not be just perfect. Like the distance between this O and N is a little too much. The distance between the D and I is not enough. So I'm going to tweak those. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to highlight everything from the right to the N, and the left arrow, just bring it over. Now this time I'm going to go all the way to the I. So I did not select the D, but I selected everything this way, and the right arrow, and that moved everything. Now, in my opinion, that moved it way too much. So here's what we're going to do. If you come up to, first of all, you've got to deselect the old program, the old version of Corel, you didn't need to deselect. Anyway, if you see this, this is the nudge distance. This is how much you're gonna nudge it over one way or the other. And it, by the way, you can also nudge it up and down, and I'll show you that in a minute. So this is 0.01. So we'll add another 0 in here. If you see that, it's 0.001. Now we'll come back here, and for the purpose of this, because it's all zoomed in for you, I just highlighted all this, and now I'm going to left arrow. Okay, now this is so fine that you couldn't see anything. So let's take it down to 0.005. Come back over the shape tool, click on this, highlight that. There, now you saw that. Great. Now is that D and A a hair too much? It might be. There we go. So now let's back up and see what it looks like. Let's take the whole entire word lane, move it over. All right, I'm liking that. So now, by the way, when I do that out like that, that's just my scroll on my mouse without doing the shift for zooming. You can do the Z and then shift to go in and out. All right, so now we have both arrows selected. We have Madison in the middle. We will do a letter E, and that took it too high. We'll undo that because I forgot I did that. Control Z, which undoes it. But with all three, both items selected, because these arrows are grouped, we will do the letter C, and that will make sure that this text is lined up in the center of that. All right, liking all that, we're going to group that. We're going to duplicate that so I can show you one more thing here. So now I'm going to ungroup, and let's say you want the 175 bigger. Well, bigger. If we're going to just go bigger, we'll just highlight those. This is Times New Roman. It's 28.455. Let's take it up to 48. See how you could do that? Now you see this big space in here. What do we have to do to get rid of that big space? Let's come back here. Grab the whole Madison lane and just left mouse until we get it to where we like it. Alright, cool. Now let's say you want to stagger the 175. So put your left mouse button on the 1 and get that little node selected. Hit your up arrow. There it is. We'll leave the 7 where it is. We'll do the same thing, only going down with the 5. I didn't count them, but looks pretty good. If you count them, you get a better handle on where it is. So there is a couple ways to do some text editing. All right, so back to this. I'm just scrolling out. This is all, I got a letter Q. This is the one that I like. So I'm just going to bring it up here. And letter Z for zoom. Now I happen to have another letter Q for my pick tool. I happen to have a guide here, and I have that locked, by the way, so you see I can't move it. Okay, and how you do that is right mouse click, and this would say unlock, and with it highlighted there, go to lock. Alright, I never touch it once I've established my borders, my guides rather, I pretty much leave it. So you can get pretty close just by doing that, and now you can use your arrows up and down. That's pretty close, and that's pretty close. All right, so letter H, and I'm going to scroll out a little bit. All right, letter Q. Now I can select everything. Now my, whatever color that is, red, is actually the size of my cutting board, and it's locked. That's a whole locked layer. Actually, I use the same layer, but you can use different layers in Corel. So now with everything highlighted, I just touch on the letter C. You probably didn't see anything happen, so let's do something so you could see it. There we go. I'm going to bring this over so you can see it. I'm just kind of giving you an idea of what this would look like. All right, now we do that. Now we hit the letter C, and everything's centered up. But if you notice, we're off of our line, our center line. So just nudge it over to the right till you hit that center line. And if you want to get dead on, you get real close. You can see it. Again, if you want, this is where you could change the distance of each nudge. I'm going to give you an example. Well, right now we're at 0.005. So let me I'm just going to put everything group. All right. Zoom. All right. Here we go. Okay, so with it deselected, you could see it's 0.005. That's the distance of that nudge right now. So watch everything moves. See how much, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You see how much? It's very, very small increments. Now, same thing. Let's take the nudge distance to 0.1. It's 1/10 of an inch. All right, here we go. One click of the right, and that's a lot, as opposed to what we were doing is 0.005. 0.05. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You get the picture. All right. So now, let me give you an example. Here, I'm going to nudge it 1. That's 1 inch. One click of one left arrow. That's a lot of movement. One left arrow. Okay. So that's how you adjust in fine increments. 0.05. All right, so back to this and get it centered. 0.005. There, we're right on it. So now we'll save that. It's going to say I have an embedding issue. And click OK, and I'm ready to cut that with my laser. So there's some shortcuts on the keyboard that help save you time, and that sort of shows you my workflow. At this point, I would select it, and I would hit print to the engraver and engrave it. Hope that helps.